Good morning, kids. I hope you guys have had a wonderful week. As you know, we've been learning all about the amazing stories that have happened in the Bible. And recently we read about how God created this world and it was amazing and perfect. But then Adam and Eve disobeyed God and sin entered the world. But luckily for us, God had a plan. And as a part of that plan, He chose one man, Abraham, to help make things right in the world. Now, God asked a lot of Abraham. He asked him to trust him and obey him even when he didn't know the outcome. And then later, God promised Abraham that he would have more children, more offspring than could number the stars in the sky. And then, even though they were very, very old and were beginning to wonder if God's promise would come true, Abraham and his wife Sarah did have a child, and that child's name was Isaac. Now, Isaac grew up, and he was living outside in the plains in the land of the Philistines, and it looked like he was on track to be the fulfillment of the success that God had promised for Abraham. He and his family and his herdsmen all lived on this land, and they depended on their well with fresh, cool water to take care of all of their animals and to have water to drink and also to grow their plants. Well, the Philistines saw how successful Isaac was being, and they didn't like it not one bit. And so in a fit of jealousy, some of the men came by and they shoveled dirt into Isaac's well, which was not very mature, but it kind of got the point across. But it didn't stop there. Next, Isaac heard from the king of the Philistines, who said, "You know what? You're too powerful, you're too strong, and we want you to move on." Now, Isaac was successful, and he was powerful, and he had plenty of men that could have fought for him. But Isaac chose to keep his cool, and he chose to trust God. And so he packed up all of his people and his family and their things and moved on to another area. This particular area is someplace where his father Abraham had lived for a while, and so there were wells already there that had been closed up for a while. So Isaac's men reopened that well, and luckily there was cool, fresh water to take care of all of their animals and crops and people. But the Philistines came along and saw what Isaac had done and claimed that well for their own and said, "This is ours and you can't use it." Well, without the water, Isaac couldn't do anything. And so again, he picked up all his family and his belongings and his people, and they moved on, this time down to the valley. Well, like we said, they had to have water, so Isaac's men got to work and they dug some new wells. And once again, they all had the cool, fresh water that they needed. But once again, the Philistine people came along and claimed that well for their own as well. So for a third time, continuing to trust God, Isaac and all of his people picked up and moved again, this time down into the valley. Now, again, they settled in, and again, they dug wells. And luckily, once again, they had the cool, fresh water that they needed. But this time, nobody came along to claim it. Instead, Isaac saw some of the Philistine men coming to him, and he was afraid that that's what was going to happen again. But instead, they said, "We're not here to fight. We're not here to take anything over. It's clear to us that God loves you and blesses you, and that He is strong in you. And so we want to call a treaty. We don't want to fight. We don't want to take it. We just want you to promise that no matter how strong you get, you won't attack us, and we promise that we won't attack you." And so the next day, Isaac agreed. And he not only agreed to this treaty and had peace with the Philistines, but he prepared a huge banquet to celebrate. Now, guys, trusting can take different forms. For Isaac, it meant picking up and moving and believing that God was going to take care of he and his family and his people no matter where God led them to go. Maybe sometimes it's standing up for ourselves when someone's picking on us, or standing up for someone else. There's a lot of different ways that trust can play out. But guys, what I want you to remember is this: we can trust God no matter what. He is always with us, and He is always there to help us.